Guys, so I got a bit of a dark subject to talk about today to get off of my mind. I was watching a video on YouTube the other day, and it was talking about this movie that was coming out named Alter, and it's got that guy who played Draco Malfoy in Harry Potter. He's playing in it. Well, long story short, it's basically about how it's a future where the rich are able to manipulate their genes and edit their genes and pick the superior genes of everything. And the poor people, which they call the specials, are not able to do so, and they're just basically regular human beings like you and me. And they have a revolution against the elites who have been doing that to them. Now, the video that I was watching that was talking about it was talking about how it's predictive programming, getting people used to the idea of editing genes, there being a class division between those in the top who are able to do all of these things and the rest of us who won't be able to do these things. Well, I agree with all that too, that it's predictive programming. And secondly, eugenics is just evil. All right, there's no two ways about it. It's evil. Now, of course, like everything else they do in life, these people, they paint everything with their positivity, or more accurately, their false, phony positivity. Oh, well, we could get rid of the autism. We could get rid of any mental problems. We could get rid of any physical defects that they might have a high percentage of getting. We could get rid of the cancer. It all sounds great, which, first of all, is also a deception in itself, because, first of all, what is causing all of these things in the human genes in the first place? For example, autism, right? The vaccines are causing the autism, the high rate of autism. You're vaccinating your children to death. How many vaccines do you give a baby when it's like not even 3 months? Like 69, 70, something like that now? Isn't that what the schedule is? And then you people wonder, oh, what's happening to all the children? Why is there such an increase in autism? Oh, I don't know. I just finished giving my little girl her 75th vaccine. She's only 3 months, so we got to give her 80 more in the next couple of months. I mean, so what I'm saying is all of these problems that we have, from cancer to the autism, and we could go down the list. A lot of it is environmental, external causes. Some of it genetic, yes, but let's be honest here. The high percentage of people with sicknesses in America, it's coming from all sorts of external factors. It's coming from what they're spraying in the sky on a daily basis that falls on us. I've talked about that in my previous video, geoengineering. It's coming from the food that you eat. You go to Aldi. Now every other store is doing the same thing for the most part, but like a store like Aldi, which tricks all of the poor middle class people because we're all trying to save a dime, it fools you because everything in Aldi now is pretty much bioengineered. Aldi is totally sold out on the New World Order, green agenda, if they even call it that anymore, whatever they call it. But they are feeding all of the poor and middle class people the bioengineered food, and God knows what that's doing to you and your body, your children. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people can't afford to buy organic food, right? Or not as much of it as they would like to, which also, I must add, is another deception in itself, because food is just supposed to be organic. It's food. So the very idea of inorganic and organic is insane. You're basically, if you're not eating organic food, right, you're eating, God knows what you're eating, something from a lab, right? And I'm not making this as a promotion to, oh, buy the organic label. I'm saying it's a scam. It's an absolute scam. But yeah, like all this food we're eating, right? Then all of the vaccinations that you give your children when they're young, as I just said, and then as you keep going, you keep getting these vaccines every year. And everybody wonders why there's all these mental problems, psychoses, insanities, schizos, shootings that are going all over the place, which are also a mix of the SSRI drugs that that they're medicating these young adults with, the SSRIs, right? So it's a mix of all these big pharma, food, government pushing all this stuff, because the government and these corporations from pharma, food, all in together to poison the American populace. Now, so that's what I'm saying. So this whole idea of eugenics, it's just going to be another byproduct of insane capitalism. Just another way to profit off of the genetically violated American populace. And that's all it's going to be. And the rich people are going to think that they're so smart. Well, for a while it might look that way, but I even said this in an old video. You'll see. It's not going to end there, because then it's going to be like, oh, well, if you want her to be blonde, your daughter, it's going to cost this. If you want this to happen, you got to do that. And it's going to be like a whole program. You're playing God. You're playing God. Who the hell do you people think you are? You could do it. I'm not saying you can't, and you are. It looks like in the path that we're going, people are going to go forward with this. Have fun, I say. But, you know, I don't think it's going to end up too well for all of you. I really don't. But I just want to talk about this, too. I want to talk about the autism thing, right? What pisses me off about the autism rate is everybody who is on the right, they love RFK Jr. And I know I always bring up RFK Jr. I think he's just another scumbag deceiver, just like everybody else who's attracted to power in Washington. For years, RFK Jr. on his Children's Health Defense website, or whatever that organization was, he was adamantly against all vaccinations of every kind for children and everybody. He even said, famously, you could find it in his book, you could find it in old videos, RFK Jr. never would and ever, in any circumstance, vaccinate any of his children for any reason at all, right? And justifiably so, because there are studies, and we could look. There are people who are living without them and with them, and you will see differences if you look. Those of you who have taken them, you just don't want to see what they've done to you. You don't want to see the people that have died from it. Fine, that's you. If you want to keep your head up your ass, that's completely fine. I don't really care. But there are those of us who don't do it. And we're still here. I mean, according to your science, if you don't get vaccinated, we should be highly diseased, highly dying of high mortality rates, dying all over the place. But there are those of us who didn't take it. What is it, like less than 20% of the American population who didn't take anything? We're still here. But I digress. I'm getting off topic. I'm trying to say that RFK Jr. was highly aware of what the vaccines were doing to people. He was highly aware that the autism rates were spiking because of the vaccinations, the mumps, measles, rubella, all 3-in-1 vaccine back in the 1990s. All those kids that were getting it, a lot of them had signs, high-rated signs of autism, and other problems that came with that as well. There were plenty of lawsuits that happened about it. There are plenty of cases about it. The media just acts like none of that happened. So, here's what I want to say about autism. When I was working at, I don't want to say which store, there was this one day I was working, just doing my regular thing, and there was a girl who was maybe like 14 or 15, and she was shopping with her mother. She had autism clearly, like you could see it outwardly and everything. She was wearing glasses. She had like curly hair. She was kind of like physically distorted as well, and she had a funny way of talking, you know. But there was something that made me cry about it, like right there on the spot. Nobody saw me. I wasn't putting on a show for anybody. Like I started to tear up, and I was just feeling my everything swelling up in my eyes when I was looking at this, because with all of that, you know, the autism she had and the physical problem that she had, she was, you know, going out of her way, asking her mother about what should I do here? Is this what you want? Like, she had such a devotion to pleasing her mother, and her love for her mother and father was just so pure. It was so pure, like unadulterated love for her parents. The way she was speaking to them, the way she wanted to get what they needed, to find what they were looking for. It just fucking made me cry like a bitch. I was crying about it because I remember feeling like that when I was a child, and I still love the people that I love, you know, but I don't express it in that way, like so childlike, you know. So seeing this autistic girl expressing herself in that way, it was almost like an angel. It's angelic, you know. So but it made me angry at the same time, because it made me say to myself, like, all of these things, all of these people whose lives have been changed so drastically, and maybe that girl, she didn't have to have autism. I don't know the story, but it feels like a lot of these problems that we have in American life, from disease, cancer, autism, mental problems, it all stems from pharmaceutical companies, the medical industry, our government, and it made me, I was sad, I was tearing up, and yet I was angry at the same time for everyone's blindness to the situation, for everyone continuing to push the lies, you know? Like there shouldn't be any more of this suffering. There shouldn't be any more of this happening if people were just to speak up against it. But they all just completely ignore anything bad happening around them, and if it's not happening to them, they don't want to do anything about it. Now there was one case where a man had twins. The mother and father had twins. They were completely healthy twins, physically, mentally, regular, normal, natural twins. And the moment they brought them to their pediatrician to get the vaccines, this was about 10 years ago or so, both of the babies never were the same again. Like, they were almost like in a vegetative state most of their life. They had to change their diapers all the way into their teenage years or so. And the father who was talking about this, what happened to his children, was being reprimanded by all of the regular idiotic Americans who were saying, "Oh, vaccines are good for you. Vaccines could never cause this. Vaccines." They were denying exactly what was happening to the father. This was not subjective. This was technically happening. It was real. And yet Americans, with their fucking idiotic groupthink, were denying this mother and father's horrible experience that they had. So, Americans who act like that, quite frankly, are worse. They are worse monsters than the actual pharmaceutical companies that have been the pharmaceutical companies who have been poisoning our population along with the government should be having a Nuremberg trial. And the whole thing should be burnt to the ground, quite frankly, in my opinion. But no, I'm not going to do anything. I'm saying legitimately speaking, people really should be angry about what happened and what's happening. But they're not. They just don't see it. But the people who legitimize the lies and they refuse to see what other people have went through, and they refuse to see that maybe your government are all weasels, deceivers, and the pharmaceutical company is just enabled by them and protected by them. If you stop covering for the very people who could care less about you, your future progeny, about humanity in general, you won't be complicit anymore. But as of this moment, you people are just as complicit in all the horrors that have been inflicted on humanity. That's how I feel about it. I'm not saying you have to agree with me or whatever, but that's just how I feel about it. Eugenics is evil. These people who want to have the ability to choose the genetics of their child, and they don't even have to have sex anymore, right? Some of these rich people that are talking about that. You really want these people to start deciding the human race's direction in life? I would rather take God. I'd rather take God and his mysterious random, chaotic way than the disgusting, lazy, selfish, narcissistic, bullshit, phony, deceiving ways of humanity. I would rather leave it to God. Okay? That's just how I feel about it. That's just how I feel about it. And here's another thing too. I think the Native Americans were kind of correct about the white people. And here's what I'm going to say about that. They were kind of right that it was never going to stop with we just keep going. And it's like, what is the point of all this progress? You know, all these things that we keep striving for. Is our ultimate goal to become God? It certainly feels that way. But you know what? I'll talk about that more in another video. I think that'll be an interesting subject. But thanks for listening.